Welcome back, anxious gamers, to another video game episode. We are your hosts. I'm Kris.
And I'm Josh.
Like always, we're going to kick things off with gaming news, talk about what we're currently playing this week, and then our top and most favorite games that we've played so far this year, 2023. So, let's talk about Activision, Blizzard, Xbox finally getting a win in court. It looks like the deal is going to go through. Call of Duty will still be on PlayStation for at least 10 years. So
yeah. And Nintendo.
Which leads to the next bit of news. Leaked Microsoft court documents reveals the Switch 2. Obviously, it has to be for Call of Duty to run on the Switch for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably going to be 10 years before we get a Switch 2 because the Switch is going to milk it. Nintendo's going to milk it so bad. How do you feel about this?
I'm okay with it. It's going to be... I'm a little bummed about all of the other most likely Activision Blizzard games that will no longer be on PlayStation. Because it's not like Call of Duty's the only one. That's just the only one that apparently Sony fought for. But yeah, there's going to be... I assume the rest of the games aren't coming to PlayStation. And in some cases, probably not even Switch. Microsoft is generally better about releasing on other consoles. How do you feel about this?
I think if one of the consoles that's still going to get games, it's going to be the Switch, because Microsoft has shown a lot of support for the Switch with, first off, bringing Minecraft over. PlayStation was against it. PlayStation was against crossplay and didn't want anybody else being able to play, which I thought Xbox and crossplay was a brilliant idea. It shouldn't matter what console you're playing on because not everybody owns all three systems. I do think we would see, because Activision was Crash Bandicoot, and so it's very weird that Microsoft now will own Activision and Toys for Bob, who have done Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. They own Sony's mascots. But Jim Ryan of Sony said that he doesn't care about older games. He wants to move on, which, to be fair, I get it, but those are your OG mascots.
Yeah.
Those are the people that got you where you are today. So, that being said, I still feel like we would see Crash, Spyro on Switch, probably PlayStation.
Yeah, but it does seem... Microsoft seems to be way more open to all games being everywhere.
Now, Bethesda's a different story. I really do think... Phil Spencer's came out and said Starfield is a Xbox PC exclusive, which, to be fair, I get that. Bethesda games in general, I've always linked with Xbox, because Morrowind and...
I play them on PC.
Yeah.
Because I know eventually I'm going to want mods.
And to be fair...
fix whatever jankiness is happening.
We've talked about this before. Competition is fair. Competition's needed. Microsoft needs more exclusives. So good for... I think Bethesda was a smart move. This is kind of questionable because, like you said, I want to play platformers on my Switch because I have all my other platformer games on there, which I do think they will bring Crash and Spyro over. It was leaked that the new Crash Bash game, or whatever it's called, was leaked for Switch recently. But
I just like that it feels like Microsoft's solution to everything is just throw money at it.
Yes.
Like, let's see if we can fix it with money.
Well, even before, you should watch the 20th anniversary of Xbox. It was a really good documentary. They built the system, they built the machine, and then they were like, oh, we need games. Yeah. So they've always struggled for games. I think it's a good move, but I know who Microsoft is as a company. They bought Rare. They barely did anything with it.
They killed it is what you mean.
I can see Call of Duty being the game, but everybody wants Guitar Hero back. Everybody wants all of these other games. And I'm in the back of my head, I'm thinking,
You're
don't
never
get
going to
your
see
hopes
this.
up.
Yeah.
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 We'll see.
Speaking,
Yeah.
yeah, but speaking of games on PC, I know we mentioned this in the last couple of episodes. I said I don't know how they're going to handle Ratchet and Clank: A Rift in Time on PC, because the whole point and the whole thing that made that game possible was the PlayStation 5's SSD speed. Turns out Microsoft is the one with the solution yet again. So they have a new feature called Direct Storage that basically can really quickly cache a bunch of things and have it ready for, go time. And so using that new feature on PC, Rift in Time is able to work even on an old school HDD, not even an SSD, because it can load everything into memory beforehand and wait till it needs it. So
now
pretty cool.
We'll see if everybody's PC gets Red Ring of Death.
Yes.
That's very cool.
It's the blue screen of death on Windows.
Death.
Yeah.
Dial up. It's going to bring dial up back. So going back to the leaked Microsoft court document, I do think Switch 2 will happen next year. It has to. I'm ready for it. I still have my Switch, but I'm ready to see what everything's been lining up. The Nintendo president said that they're working on an easy solution to transfer over Nintendo accounts.
Mm-hmm. There's lots more leaks coming.
Lots more leaks coming. You even had Activision make the CEO make the slip up of, hey, it's going to be just as powerful as Xbox One, PS4, PS4 Pro. So I really do think Nintendo is taking the right moves, and we won't have another Wii U dilemma.
It's really fun how much news we've gotten out of the Sony Microsoft court case.
I made the short about the update because this has been going on for months now, and almost a year, right? And it's just really sad that all of this time they could have just made a new exclusive or put that money into making Halo Infinite come out on time with the launch of your new system. So, without further ado, let's talk about what we're currently playing this week. What are you playing?
Yeah. Really? One game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finished up Final Fantasy XVI. Haven't wanted to sit in the living room just yet. Timberborn. And actually, no, two games. Timberborn and Dave the Diver. Mostly Timberborn.
So explain to me Timberborn.
Timberborn is a city builder. And there was a game that came out made by one dude a while ago, years ago actually, called Banished. Mm-hmm. And kind of the idea is that you drop off a little bit of supplies and like 4 to 6 settlers, and you have to, set them all up to chop down trees, build your roads, build your houses, woodcutters, everything like that, foresters. Like, you build your little colony. This is the exact same thing, but it's technically post-apocalyptic, and all of your settlers are beavers.
This is pretty cool. I'm gonna have to tell Jess about this one. She might be interested in that.
It's a fun one because the cool part about it, the gimmick, I guess, or the hook, is that everything revolves around water. It has really cool water simulation in it, and the whole thing, instead of months, there's something called cycles, and so every cycle there's a drought of varying intensity or length. On normal mode, usually it's no more. I mean, it starts off maybe a day or two. Once you get several cycles in, the droughts are starting to last closer to 10, 12 days. But you have to find ways to conserve water, keep it in the river, because the river will totally dry up and the land dries up with it. And then you can your beavers can't drink and they have no food because your crops won't grow. So you have to build dams and levees and floodgates, and you have, water wheels you can power stuff with. Anyways, you just grow your colony. And I have a real fast story about an experience playing Timberborn the other day. I was playing on hard mode. I had a colony of 70 or 80 beavers, which is pretty good. I mean, that's several hours into a city. And a really bad drought came and killed all but 2 beavers. Like it was cutting it close. And I renamed them Badam and Beeve and put them in a house and then slowly rebuilt the population. And I realized as this was happening, it got really incestuous really fast. 'Cause it was really weird. I was like, I'm just gonna have to not think about this, about the fact that, the now 20 beavers all came from the same 2 beavers. Yeah. And everybody's, living with their cousins and
living with their cousin Bucky.
Yeah, but good old Badam and Beeve, and I grew the population back to 70 or 80 beavers.
Nice.
And then I accidentally flooded the whole city for too long. I had walked away and came back to all dead beavers.
Sad day. All right.
10 out of 10. Good game.
Very cool. Are you playing it on PS5?
PC.
PC.
Yeah. Right. I don't actually know if it's on
console.
Yeah. Very cool game though. Highly recommend it.
Awesome.
And then what are you playing?
2 games. I picked up a JRPG that I was interested in. It's been out for a while, called Star Ocean.
Oh yeah, I know that one.
They're remaking Star Ocean 2, and I was really excited about the graphic style and the gameplay that I saw at the last Nintendo Direct. So I picked up Star Ocean. It's on sale for $8 right now.
Nice.
So I picked that up, and I've been playing through that. Very cool game. A little underrated, in my opinion. Starts off, the cutscenes are kind of anime cartoon-esque, like 90s style, and Dragon Ball Z kind of looking. But the combat is kind of similar to Tales of Vesperia or the Tales games, where it's random encounters, but it's hack and slash. It's not turn-based, and you can switch between any of the other characters and fight. Yeah. So, really good game. And then I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm finally playing through it.
You do it on the Switch?
I am. I'm actually doing it through the cloud. So, I haven't had any issues with it. So,
how far in are you?
I just started.
Okay.
I think the first level is Olympus, right? Or with Hercules?
I don't remember.
Okay. It's been out for some time.
So that is the first Kingdom Hearts game that I never finished.
Really?
Mainline game, anyways. Mm-hmm. The story just got so convoluted. I had no idea what was going on or why I should care. Mm-hmm. And unlike 1 and 2, they literally didn't change the story in any of the worlds at all. They just injected Sora, Donald, and Goofy into it. Mm-hmm. So at least in the first 2, they kind of changed up the story a little.
Yeah,
where
you had
you actually affect it.
Yeah. Kingdom Hearts 2 is probably my favorite one and will always be my favorite one.
That battle with all the nobodies, and there's hundreds and hundreds of them, is still one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah. I'm enjoying 3. I can definitely get where you're coming from with the story. It does feel bland.
Wait till you get... I think I made it right... I think I was just past the Toy Story world. The graphics are great. The combat even is kind of boring. It's just like mash square.
Well, see, that's kind of what turned me on to the game a bit, is it felt more hack and slash a little bit than past Kingdom Hearts games. It doesn't feel as floaty as 1 and 2 did. I'm enjoying it, but it's not my favorite. So I still love 1 and 2. And even the spin-off games, the DS games, were really well done, like Dream Drop Distance and stuff. But I am playing one more game, but that's in our main topic, which is our favorite games that we've played this year so far. Game of the Year contenders. We'll definitely do another episode talking about towards the end of the year, our Game of the Year, because there's more releases, like Mario Wonder. So, Josh... We're going to kick this off with the game that is... It's not my game of the year yet, but it's on our list together. Tears of the Kingdom.
Game number 1.
Game number 1.
Of course, this has to be here. I mean, I spent 80 hours in 2 weeks. It was a full-time job for me. Like, I was playing it every chance that I got. Finally finished the story. Haven't touched it much since then, but I've been thinking about it. And I want to go build some stuff soon.
I get in a very medieval Lord of the Rings, Skyrim, dungeon crawler mood when fall comes. Like right when like September, October hits. And Zelda is one of my favorite games to play during that time. Zelda's my favorite game to play all the time. So I think I'm going to dive like extremely hard into Tears of the Kingdom around then. I am still playing.
Okay.
I made it to the Fire Temple. Haven't completed it yet. But
So you made it. You actually made it to the temple, though. Okay, sweet.
Temple.
How'd you feel about the crawling the depths to get to the temple?
Not bad.
Oh, I liked that. Was my favorite.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It wasn't like crazy hard or anything.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that's what you were referencing.
No.
But,
I just thought it was. I thought it was an interesting after doing the Rito temple, and it surprised me because I thought all of the temples were going to be overworld or sky.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting one of them to be in the depths.
Yeah, and the other thing too is just it's paced really well. I don't know. I think I've really enjoyed this temple within the temple. Basically, what you said a few episodes where you have like you have to get through a little mission to get to the temple. It just makes it different, more fun, more linear in a
Although
sense.
I still think that the most fun is the Gerudo.
Okay, yeah, I will get there.
That one's very unique.
Yeah. But Tears of the Kingdom definitely could be game of the year. I am growing on it more and just really taking in I've came so close to buying the strategy guide just to have because it looks beautiful. I don't own a single Zelda strategy guide, but I don't want to be spoiled by
You can own it
anything.
and not read it.
I could flip through it. I'll flip through the pictures of it.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom. Yes. Let's talk about another game that we have together on our list.
Game number 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Yeah. Did you finish it?
No, still haven't done that.
How far are you?
We actually haven't made it much further than where we were. We're still in the castle. My brother-in-law started he got promoted, so hasn't been as much time lately for us to hop on and play together. But I have seen him playing Dave the Diver recently on Steam, so I may have to hit him up soon and get back to playing some Resident Evil.
Yeah. Well, you guys know, if you've been keeping up with us, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. Resident Evil 4 is just one of my favorite games of all time. Definitely could be a Game of the Year contender for me. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. I didn't feel like replaying it as much as I did with the original just because I'm so used to how the original was. And just it's so fun to speed run now.
So out of Tears of the Kingdom and RE4, 1 and 2, which one? What order are you putting those in?
I would put Tears of the Kingdom before Resident Evil 4.
Okay, so Tears of the Kingdom currently is the Game of the Year contender out of all the games they've released.
Not for me, no, but it's before Resident Evil 4 because I have one more game.
Okay. The next one for you is Game of the Year contender.
But you go ahead and give us a game. So we had Tears of the Kingdom and Resident Evil 4.
Yeah. So I would say Tears of the Kingdom is my number 1. The next one is my number 2, and then RE4 is number 3.
Okay.
And if you've been listening to any of the recent episodes, you know what the next game is going to be, and that's Final Fantasy XVI.
I'm just kidding. It's not a Final Fantasy game. It's not a JRPG.
It still was very...
I've been seeing so
Japanese.
many crybabies about that. But it's just from what I got to play, the hour I got to play.
Yeah.
It's Final Fantasy. They've been doing the hack and slash style. 13 kind of had it. It was still turn-based. 7 Remake is full-blown I just
Yeah,
don't
they've
think
been
people.
all of the Kingdom Hearts. Like they've been leaning that direction for a long time.
Yeah.
It's hard these days to do turn-based really well.
Hmm.
Some games still do it. Persona 5, I think, has the freshest take currently.
Yes. Very different.
Yeah.
Um,
And even that gets a little old sometimes.
hmm I mean, well, even Pokemon's been taking different approaches, being able to move around and move your Pokemon. Legends Arceus was a completely different.
I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I do have a second place
Mhm.
contender for turn-based.
Oh, okay.
Paper Mario.
Oh, Paper Mario is so good. I've played all of them. Even Origami King was solid.
Oh, I loved
The,
it.
yeah,
That was great.
and here's fingers crossed we get that rumored Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake. But we're getting Super Mario RPG.
We are.
It's
We'll
gonna
see
be
how that
great.
one does. But anyways, back to the list. Yeah, so Tears of the Kingdom and then Final Fantasy 16. And I give Final Fantasy 16 at this point maybe like an 8.5, 9 out of 10.
Interesting.
A lot of really good things, a lot of kind of infuriating things at the same time. Just the pacing at points. It's, you know, cutscene after cutscene after cutscene happens.
Yeah.
Some of that I didn't mind. The combat was fantastic, if not a little boring by the end. It almost seems like they front loaded all the epic parts kind of toward beginning middle.
Hmm.
And then it really, like, you get more powers, but you can only equip 3 at a time. And this might just be me, but about middle of the game I found the powers I wanted to stick with, and I tried the others. So I kind of stuck with the 3 icons by middle game and used those for the rest of the time.
And
And
it's that right there that you just said that makes me. It does get irritating, but it makes me appreciate the weapon system in Tears, especially Tears of the Kingdom now, because you
do have to keep
constantly
reevaluating.
reevaluate. And Resident Evil 4 Remake was starting to do that with the knife.
Mm-hmm.
You had to be like, okay, am I going to put my points into weapons or am I going to up my knife? And it makes you think. And that was something, just from what I played at my friend's house with Final Fantasy 16, he was doing the same thing. I noticed he wouldn't change any of his powers or magic or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was,
Like you end up in a flow, a certain flow, you get it down, you know what spells are mapped to which buttons, and you find out which ones can do the most damage because once you stagger an enemy, it does 1.5 to double damage. And so obviously you map the ones that do the most damage to a single enemy, specifically for the big ones. That way you can save up your powers, stagger one of the bosses, and then just unleash all fury on, all in a row. It's a good time.
I'm glad you enjoyed it though. It does look
Very
like
good,
a great
yeah.
game, and if I ever pick up a PS5, that'll be one of the first games I get.
Probably had the strongest story of any Final Fantasy game that I've ever played.
Very cool.
I would put it almost over 7.
I feel like maybe Final Fantasy 16 is not as big, but it's the kind of the Breath of the Wild effect where they went back to past games and went, okay, this is what works. We're going to do this, but we're going to give it a new twist. So maybe 17 or the next game they do will be huge.
You could really tell that it was Game of Thrones inspired.
That's
a
what I've
lot
heard
of
a lot.
a lot of backstabbing. Very. There was a feature that was really interesting, and that's every once in a while it would force you basically to watch a quick explainer on what is happening politically in the kingdoms. Because there are 3 main kingdoms and then one kind of neutral area.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally has a map of this thing, and it's this person, this lady, talking you through, like, this king did this, now he's doing this is what's happening over here. It's drawing arrows and showing where all the armies are. Mm-hmm. And it was very like geopolitical battle map kind of thing, and it did it 5 or 6 times throughout the game. And at any point you could go and say, hey, what's new in the kingdom, and it would show you an update of what's happening as you progressed.
Wow.
Because the
That's
full
funny.
game takes place over 20 something years.
Wow. Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a different feature.
Yeah. It was pretty neat. It made the whole world feel really fleshed out. Everything was very well thought out. And anything that happened, any events, anything that you did, every time you came back to kind of your main hub, as you walked by, all of the conversations had updated almost after every chapter.
Nice.
Or major mission. Pretty cool.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of kingdoms and war and all of this stuff, there is a game I meant to put on our notes here, and I didn't have it. That's Fire Emblem Engage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this one would probably come after Resident Evil 4 Remake for me. I got Tears of the... to be TBA game, Tears of the Kingdom, Resident Evil 4, and Fire Emblem Engage. I've never played Fire Emblem. I've always wanted to get into that series, and I only knew the characters from Smash.
Yeah.
And Engage came out at the first of the year, and I actually played just a little bit of it this morning. I'm maybe 2-3 hours in, very early into it, but I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. It was kind of one of those games that I just didn't expect to play. I'm not really into top-down board game style games.
I think I've only played... Were there 2 on the Game Boy Advance?
I believe so. 1? But yeah, I'm very new to the series, so sorry if I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's really fun. I like the graphic style, the characters, the combat. From what I've heard and what I can tell from playing, is kind of going back to classic Fire Emblem. So
yeah, there's only 1 on the Game Boy Advance. I think I'm thinking of Golden Sun.
Oh, Golden! That's been a game that people have really wanted to come back.
I would love. Yeah, I played both of those. I remember that's one of those childhood games. I remember specifically where and when I played it. It was a church trip, and we had chartered a bus, and I had my Game Boy Advance SP, and a friend of mine let me borrow both Golden Suns for the trip. Up to, I think we went to Eureka Springs.
Did you beat both of them?
I believe I did. Yeah, on that trip. Yeah, I played pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I mean, I was a kid. I didn't really care about whatever was happening. So.
Yeah. Well, I see you got a few more games.
I have one. I have one. If we're keeping the list at 3, but now that you have a 4th, I may have to throw a 4th contender in there. Number 3. Oh no! Wait, no. Those were my 3. Yeah. So number 1, Tears of the Kingdom. Number 2, Final Fantasy. Number 3, RE4. And if I have to throw a 4th in there, I'm gonna say Dave the Diver.
Yeah, you've been really hooked on that one.
From the time that I've spent, it's not a play all day kind of thing. It gets a little old really fast every day, but I keep wanting to play it daily, even just because it has a very tight loop, which is, your day consists of go diving, catch some fish, maybe progress the story. That's morning. Then you have afternoon. You can either dive, you can do a little farming, you can check up on your fish tanks that are growing. And then you can either do some evening diving, or you go to the restaurant, you prepare your menu, serve customers, repeat. So it's basically a 3-phase day. You have morning, afternoon, evening, sleep, repeat.
Sounds fun.
And a full day can really be about as long as you want, or if you're in a hurry, you can dive, catch a few fish, go get whatever it is you need, come up, do it again, get a couple more things, go to the restaurant. All in, maybe 15 minutes per day. So you can very quickly go in, play a couple days, go do whatever you need to do.
Sounds fun. Sounds relaxing.
It's so stylish, and it's very unique. It's just quirky. It has a very good sense of humor.
Awesome. Well, my game of the year so far is Metroid Prime Remastered. That was such a surprise announcement, and the fact that Nintendo gave it to us day one and said, hey, in a week or 2 weeks, we'll have physical copies out for you guys.
Yep.
I hope they do that with more games, because I will double dip. I've almost bought it physically because the case art looks so cool. And just like going into Target or Walmart and seeing Metroid Prime in the container reminds me of the GameCube era. Just so nostalgic. Seeing Resident Evil 4, Metroid Prime.
I know. What is happening right now? What year is it?
But it's still the same game, just remastered. It almost feels more like
better
a remake.
controls. Yeah.
Better controls, and it just goes to show the Switch can run games really well. I feel like I'm playing Crysis or a very futuristic stylistic shooter.
Yeah.
Just overall, like, well done, and I'm very excited to see Metroid Prime 4, and hopefully we get Echoes, Prime 2 Echoes, and Corruption.
Especially because we're coming up on likely the end of the Switch era. Toward the end of any console's life is when performance and optimization and all of that has been really kind of figured out. And so I think a lot of the games we're going to be seeing here toward the end are going to be really graphically impressive. It's going to be squeezing every, bite of power it possibly can out of the Switch. I mean, we saw this with Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, Breath of the Wild would slow down at points, and I don't know that I really noticed Tears of the Kingdom doing that much.
I truly think that the Switch 2, it'll either be called the Switch 2 or Switch 4K or something to make it distinguish as the next system, but I really do think Metroid Prime 4 will be a launch title for it, because just some of the things I was seeing with the remaster, even the visor effects still, when you're going and you're shooting your power beam, you can quickly see her eyes reflect in the visor.
That's
some of the coolest
cool.
visor stuff that games just don't care about anymore.
Just that detail.
The closest I would say would be Crysis. Crysis still pays attention a lot to detail. But yeah, that game was just a complete shock. It really caught my attention. And right now it's number one. Now, if I finish Tears of the Kingdom, Tears of the Kingdom might dethrone it. But yeah, those are my top three: Metroid Prime Remaster, Tears of the Kingdom, Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Nice.
So, well, that wraps up this episode. Be sure to catch us every Thursday on YouTube at Anxious Gamers.
And remember, it's dangerous to go alone.
See ya.